Life, I can guarantee you that you'll deal with a storm. In life, I also guarantee that you'll deal with, if you live long enough, a shipwreck. In life, now here's your choice. Choose whether you deal with it. In fact, choose whether you obey the Savior. A storm, a shipwreck, and the Savior. Approximately 9 to 10 years ago, I had my first experience of deep sea fishing. I'd heard a lot about deep sea fishing and wanted to engage in the experience of deep sea fishing. Some colleague at work was going deep sea fishing and told me, "Hey Fred, why don't you come?" So we went together, deep sea fishing. Me, colleague, a few of my family members, went down to the Gulf of Mexico. Got down to the Gulf of Mexico, and my first experience deep sea fishing, I was expecting a yacht. I was expecting a fairly nice-sized vessel. I was expecting many of the comforts of home. But when we got there, we got on the boat, and I looked at the boat. I realized that if we added one more person, there may not be room for those on the boat. But all the same now, I had to build up my courage. And here we are, deep sea fishing. We pressed off from the dock, and I watched the land slowly disappear. Watched the land disappear, and I thought that possibly we might fish where I could see land. But no, we went deep sea fishing. Deep sea fishing, again, wonderful experience. But while we were fishing, deep sea fishing, the captain would always ring a bell and tell us we're at the spot. And we'd go fishing and catch fish, and I caught more fish on that day than I've ever caught in my life. Because we were deep sea fishing. The captain would keep ringing a bell and tell you now it's time to fish. But then the captain rang a different bell. He rang a different bell, and the captain said, "Everyone below deck, a storm is coming." Captain told us that a storm was coming, and everyone had to go inside, below deck. The captain said, "I know that you may have paid for 6 hours, but we're going to cut you short at 3. Because now it's time we got to get back to the shore." As we began traveling back towards shore, the sky all of a sudden turned. And what was a bright, beautiful day on the Gulf of Mexico, all of a sudden it became completely dark. I was participating in a recreational activity way out to sea. And my recreational activity ended up putting me in a situation where now I was scared of my ship getting wrecked. I want you to understand in terms of life today also what happens. We also often participate in recreational activities, and the recreational activity that we participate in causes our ship to sometimes be in danger of being wrecked. What do I mean recreational activity? You do some things for yourself, and it's only yourself. That's nothing more than a recreational activity, and recreational activity can put you out to sea to a place where the clouds can all of a sudden turn dark, can put you out to sea to a place where sometimes the wind and the waves begin to crash and cover your boat. But I want to let you know today that even when you're out to sea, if you can just trust in the name of God, He can bring you in to shore. In the text, what we find in Acts 27 is this. You couldn't read the entire chapter, so let me give you the background so you understand. Paul was a prisoner. He was a prisoner in Jerusalem. And Paul was a Roman citizen. So Paul appealed to his Roman citizenship and said, "Here in Jerusalem, I don't want to be tried here in Jerusalem. Take me to Rome." So here now, Paul is being transported to Rome, Paul and other prisoners. as they're moving toward Rome, what we find when we picked up reading, they're leaving the island of Crete and they're trying to get to Rome, but an interesting thing happened here. Interesting enough here, they had traveled, but there was a time where the seasons were about to change. Paul knew, and the sailors knew, that it wasn't safe to travel the seas during this time. Paul cautioned actually them to stay where they were. Paul cautioned them to just stay where, I know it's not the best place, but just stay where we are. But don't cast out. We can wait and go when the weather turns better. But no, they chose to set sail anyway. They got a good wind when we picked up in 13. They got a good wind. They thought that they could make it with a good wind, but the wind that they got was a good wind, but that wind changed. It changed into what is called again Euroclydon, or the southeaster, and that wind ended up tossing and beating that ship for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks of being on the sea with the sky being dark, not having any idea what was going to happen to their life, happen to their fate, what ends up happening is, one, they first threw overboard. They first began to throw overboard the cargo. After throwing overboard the cargo, they waited 3 more days, and then they threw overboard the tackle. They threw the cargo and they threw the tackle. And now, after some 14 days of being here at sea, 14 days actually not having control of the vessel, they get to the point where they realize they're coming up on shallow ground. That they're now coming up on shallow ground, and as they're coming up on shallow ground, the fear is that they're going to run up on an island, so they cast the anchor to hold the boat steady to wait till day. Cast the anchor to hold the boat steady to wait till day, and as they have cast the anchor, waiting to wait till day, some of them try to escape. They try to escape, but again, the soldiers help them, cause them actually, retain them, make them remain on board. But now, after that, what ends up happening at daylight, they can see in the distance. They see in the distance the shore, and when they see the shore in the distance, they pull up anchor and they head fast toward the shore. On the way toward the shore, they run into a reef. They run into a reef. The front of the ship hits the reef, and the waves that are pressing so violently upon the back of the ship tear the back of the ship apart. And the ship is now, they can see the land, but they're not at the land. Here they are. The storm has caused a shipwreck. But then after the shipwreck that has now been caused, those that can swim, swim. And those that can't swim grab onto pieces, grab onto boards, grab onto anything they can, and allow for the waves to drive them to the sea. Again, we have a storm here in the text. We have a shipwreck, and we have the Savior. Again, a storm, a shipwreck, and the Savior. Now, interestingly enough, when we deal here first for a quick minute, deal with the storm. The storm of life. This storm of life, this storm in the text occurs like many storms in life. Understand, when you look here, there's 2 reasons that I see for this storm. I told you the text of the story, told you what takes place. The 2 reasons for this storm are, 1, disobedience to God. But 2, it's also God's direction. Now, I don't know what storm it is that you're dealing with, but I can tell you this. There's 1 of 2 reasons you're dealing with that storm. It could be disobedience to God, because in the text, Paul told them, stay here. Paul told them, it's no need to go further now. We can wait and see. Some of us have had some storms that have occurred in our life because we couldn't wait. Some of us have had some storms that have occurred in our life because we had to have it and had to have it now. We had to have him and have him now. We had to have her and have her now. You sometimes had some storms in your life because you had to have it now. And God was trying to tell you, just wait. And if you can just wait, the storm that wrecked your ship, the storm that messed up your head, the storm that you think ruined your life, the storm that threw you off course, the storm that affected your life, wouldn't have to come to pass. There's 2 reasons for a storm. Disobedience to God, but it could also be God's direction. Because see, for the sailors here in the text, the storm that they encountered, it was because of their disobedience. But for Paul, the storm that Paul encountered, what that really was about, that was about God's direction. I want you to actually have an appropriate understanding of God and how God works in your life, because every storm, every adversity, every trial, every attack, everything that comes against you is not always the enemy. Sometimes it's God letting the enemy have his way for a moment so God can perform his perfect purpose. So storms that occur in your life, it's either disobedience to God or God's direction. Understand here again, we have to understand the storm. We have to understand the storm because see, the storm, it says that the storm started off in verse 13. It started off with a gentle south wind. That's how many of the storms in our life start out. They start out as nice, gentle wind. Everybody loves a nice breeze. Everybody loves to feel the wind blow up against you. It was a nice breeze. But understand, in the nice breeze, they chased after what they wanted. Look at the text. And when the south wind blew softly, it says, supposing they had obtained their purpose. So they had a nice, gentle breeze, and they began chasing after their purpose.
Something within you has been longing for a meaningful worship experience, looking for a place where you can experience the presence of God, a life-giving place with relevant ministries that reach every age group, a liberating place where your hands and heart can be used in the service of God's kingdom. The Pilgrim Baptist Church is such a place. We provide an early morning worship at 8 a.m., nursery ministry, children's church, Sunday school, and Wednesday Bible study at noon and 7 p.m. The Pilgrim Baptist Church is a servant church reflecting Christ to the community.
And when they chased after their purpose with the nice breeze, the breeze turned into a hurricane. I want to pause right there and let you understand that in life, you have to make sure that you don't chase after what you want with a nice breeze in life, because the nice breezes that come in life, you can catch hold of that breeze, and that breeze can turn into a hurricane. That breeze can turn into a storm. There was a storm. But then here's the thing about the storm that happened here in the text, and I pray it doesn't happen to you, but in the text what it says is the storm got so strong that they had to let the storm dry. The storm got so strong they had to take their hands off the wheel. I want to caution in terms of making sure we understand and know that sometimes when we're disobedient to God, or sometimes even when God is causing the storm, what God really wants you to do is take your hands off the wheel. God wants you to make sure that he's in ultimate, he's in total, he's in sovereign control. There's a storm, but not just a storm, there's also a shipwreck. Now, the shipwreck is interesting when they have the shipwreck, because see, the shipwreck, the way the ship wrecks, the reason that the ship wrecks is they see land. They knew they were coming close to land because they were measuring the depth. They may measure that it was first 20 fathoms, and then they measured 15 fathoms, so they knew they were moving into shallow water. So when they knew they were moving into shallow water, when daylight came, they cast up, they pulled up the anchors, and they headed for the shore. And as they headed for the shore, the front of the boat crashed on a reef, basically. Crashed on shallow ground, and the back of the boat ended up being destroyed. So there's a storm and there's a shipwreck. But before the shipwreck, interesting, the text would tell you, when you look into the text, we didn't read this passage of scripture in the text, but the text would tell you that first thing that they did when they encountered the storm is the first thing that they threw overboard was the cargo.
All right.
I want to let you pause there and let you know. See, sometimes what happens in life, God allows for a storm because God wants you to get rid of your cargo. Let me tell you, God wants you to get rid of your cargo. God sometimes allows the storm because, see, the cargo gave profit to the ship, but not necessarily profit to God. And see, some things we're carrying in the midst of the storm, and God lets the storm come because you need to get rid of your cargo. They had to throw the cargo overboard. So what storm is it that you're dealing with in your life? What storm is it that you're dealing with right now? What storm is it that's going to come and get you this week? I want to let you know that sometimes you got to throw overboard your cargo. Your cargo might be a person. Your cargo might be your own idol. Your cargo, you got to throw your cargo overboard. And when you throw your cargo overboard, you lighten the ship so the ship can sail in different weather. They let the cargo go. But it's interesting, they let the cargo go. But when you look in the text, and I didn't read this part of the text, but verse 19. Verse 19 says, and the third day we cast out with our own hands the tackling of the ship. So first they cast the cargo, and they waited 3 more days before they let go of the tackling. Now the tackling, what is the tackling? The tackling of the ship. The tackling of the ship are the instruments and the tools that the sailors use to sail the ship. There's some instruments and tools that are responsible for helping them raise the sail quick and fast. There are certain instruments and tools that make navigating the ship and handling the ship easy. But these instruments are heavy instruments that sometimes in the midst of a difficult storm, you just have to, as they say, let her drive. And so here they threw the tackling now. They threw the tackling overboard now. The tackling, it's not the cargo. The cargo is what the ship was carrying for profit, is what the cargo is. The tackling is what the ship carried because it had a purpose in the ship. Now, there's some things that you also have to throw overboard in your life, and they're the tackling of your life. The tackling. Don't let the tackling tackle you. The tackling. There's some things that have attached themselves to you that now you just say, this is who I am. There's some things that have attached themselves to you, and you just say, this is how I do it. There's some things that have attached. Well, let me talk about your tackling. See, there's some things, the cargo, there's some things like an attitude that you just have, and you can say, well, this is just who I am. This is just how I say it. It's just the tackling. You let the tackling of life tackle you. Don't let the tackling tackle you, because the tackling can tackle you and cause you to shipwreck and sink in the midst of the storm. You got to make sure. You got to make sure that you understand there's a storm, there's a shipwreck, but there's also the Savior. There's also the Savior, and now the Savior shows up. In fact, God shows up. God shows up and gives them a word multiple times in the text. God shows up and gives them the word multiple times in chapter 27. First, Paul told them in the beginning, Paul, a man of God, who they knew was on trial for standing for God, Paul told them, don't go. They had a word. But then also what you find after the storm came, before the 14 days that God came, an angel came to Paul in a vision, and the angel came to Paul in a vision, and Paul told them, angel came to me, told me that nobody on this ship is going to be lost. Angel told them that we just have to make sure that we will be here to God. The angel, God gave them a word in the beginning by Paul telling them don't go. But then God gave them another word in the midst of the storm, telling them that everything was going to be all right. I want to tell you that God is just that gracious also in your life. God is just that gracious in your life that sometimes what God tells you is don't go. Sometimes God tells you don't do that. Sometimes God tells you don't say that. Sometimes God tells you don't go there. Sometimes God tells you don't hang out with them. Sometimes God tells you don't. But even still, God has enough grace that even after God tells you don't, God will give you another word to tell you everything's going to be all right. Nothing more than a God that is sovereign and a God that is in total, complete, and absolute control. There's a storm and there's a shipwreck, but in the midst of the storm and the shipwreck, there is the Savior. There's the Savior because God gives them a word in the beginning. There's a Savior because God gives them the word in the midst of the storm. There's the Savior still because they encouraged themselves after they got to the point that they knew they were hitting shallow land. They encouraged themselves because the text will tell us in chapter 27 that what Paul did, it says Paul took bread, break bread, and gave thanks to God. Sounds like Paul had communion in the midst of a storm. Sounds like Paul